Welcome to the Glitch Report, your daily marketing botcast. Brought to you by Leadpages. Here are our hosts, Kai and Luna.
So today we're going to be looking at a bunch of different sources and really trying to figure out, what's going on in the marketing landscape.
Yeah, it's a wild world out there.
It really is, and it seems like every week something crazy is happening.
Especially with AI, it's like...
Oh, don't even get me started on AI. I feel like...
It's changing everything.
It's changing everything so fast, it's hard to even keep up sometimes.
For sure.
But, we're going to try our best today.
Absolutely.
So first up, let's talk about Google search ad spending.
Ooh, interesting.
I know, right? So get this. Even with all the hype around AI and, all the new features Google's been rolling out,
right.
Google search ad spending actually grew by 11% year over year in Q3.
Wow, 11%. That's pretty significant.
It is, right. I was surprised too when I saw that number. I mean, you'd think with all the talk about AI taking over advertising.
Yeah, you would think so.
The Google ads would be, taking a hit.
Right.
But that doesn't seem to be the case at all.
So what's going on there?
According to this report from Tinuiti.
The Digital Ads Benchmark Report.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like advertisers are actually adapting pretty well to all the changes.
So they're figuring out how to use AI to their advantage.
Exactly. Like after those AI overviews came out, there was definitely like a dip in performance for some advertisers.
Right. Makes sense. They're trying to figure out the new system.
Yeah. But then they started to figure out how to use things like shopping ads and those Performance Max campaigns.
Oh, yeah. Those are interesting.
I know, right? It's like AI-powered campaigns that optimize across all of Google's channels.
So they're not just like setting it and forgetting it.
No, they're really using the AI to help them target their audience more effectively.
That's cool.
And the report says that, those types of campaigns have been really successful.
So it seems like AI is becoming more of a tool for marketers.
Yeah, instead of replacing them, which I think is really interesting.
It is. It just goes to show that, marketing is all about adapting to new technologies.
Totally. And speaking of AI and, content.
Uh-oh.
I know, right? This is where things get really wild.
Okay, tell me more.
So there's this whole thing happening on Medium right now.
Medium, the blogging platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They've always been like a hub for writers and bloggers and all that.
Right.
But now it seems like AI-generated content is flooding the platform.
Flooding? How bad are we talking?
Well, get this.
Yeah.
40% of recent Medium posts are flagged as AI-generated.
40%? That's wild.
I know, right? It's crazy. And, it's really raising some questions about, what even counts as content anymore.
Yeah, is AI-generated content really content?
Exactly. And, it's interesting because Tony Stubblebine, the CEO of Medium,
okay,
he's actually said that he doesn't think it matters if content is AI-generated as long as people are reading it.
Wow. That's a pretty bold statement.
It is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that, engagement is the most important thing.
Right. If people are actually reading it and interacting with it, then does it really matter how it was created?
Yeah. But on the other hand, there's something to be said for human creativity and originality.
Totally. Yeah. It's AI-generated content can be good for quick summaries or basic information.
Right.
But for real, in-depth, thoughtful content, you still need humans.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important distinction.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, you know? How do platforms like Medium deal with this influx of AI-generated content?
And how do content creators adapt?
Exactly. Because, if you're a human writer and you're competing with all these AI-generated articles,
it's tough.
It's got to be tough to stand out.
For sure.
But while some platforms are struggling with all this AI stuff, there are other brands out there who are using technology in really smart ways.
Okay, give me an example.
L'Oreal, for example.
L'Oreal, the makeup company.
Yeah, exactly. They've been doing some really interesting things on Pinterest lately.
Pinterest. Interesting. What are they doing?
So they've been really focused on targeting Gen Z.
Okay. Makes sense. Pinterest is pretty popular with that demographic.
Exactly. And they've been seeing some amazing results.
Like what?
Well, Maybelline, one of their brands, increased their Pinterest investment by 90% year over year.
90%? Wow. They're really going all in.
They are. And almost half of their engaged audience on the platform is Gen Z.
So clearly they're doing something right.
Totally. And it's not just about spending more money. They're also using Pinterest's new features in really creative ways.
Like what?
Remember that collages remix feature?
I don't think so.
It's this cool new feature where you can remix your Pinterest collages.
Okay, I'm picturing a visual mashup kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And L'Oreal was the exclusive launch partner for that feature.
Oh, wow.
And they use it really effectively during back-to-school season.
So they were able to really reach that Gen Z audience?
Totally. It's a great example of how you can use technology to your advantage.
Right. Like you have to stay on top of the trends and know what the platforms are offering.
Absolutely. And now for something completely different.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Let's talk about Reddit.
Reddit. Interesting. I don't often hear Reddit talked about in these like marketing conversations.
I know, right? But they've been quietly killing it in terms of ad revenue.
Really?
Yeah. So their Q3 ad revenue was a whopping $315.1 million.
Whoa. That's a lot.
It is. It's a 56% year-over-year increase.
56%. That's insane.
It is.
Right.
And, you know, it's not just because they're jacking up prices.
So what's driving that growth?
Well, the COO of Reddit said it's because they're getting more ad impressions and they're doing what they call ad density.
Ad density, what's that?
Basically, it means they're fitting more ads onto the page.
Okay.
But without, like, negatively impacting the user experience.
So they're not just, like, bombarding people with ads.
No, they're being strategic about it. And the thing that I find most interesting is that this growth happened before they even fully rolled out their new AI ad tools.
Oh, wow. So there's even more potential there.
Exactly. And they're also planning to introduce in-comment ads.
In-comment ads? That's interesting. I wonder how that will work.
I know, right? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously Reddit still has a ways to go before they catch up with like the social media giants.
Right.
But they're definitely making moves.
For sure.
So after all of that, I got to ask you.
Okay, shoot.
What's your biggest takeaway?
That's a good question.
I know, right? We've covered a lot today.
You know, we've talked about Google Ads and AI content.
And L'Oreal and Pinterest and Reddit's ad revenue.
It's a lot to process.
It is. So what stands out to you? Like, what do you think is the most important thing for marketers to keep in mind moving forward?
I think the biggest thing is that, you know, marketing is constantly evolving.
Absolutely.
You have to be willing to adapt and learn new things.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like we saw with Google Ads. You know, advertisers were able to adapt to the new AI features.
Right. And they're actually seeing success with it.
Exactly. And with L'Oreal, you know, they're really understanding their target audience.
And they're using the platforms in really smart ways.
Yeah. And Reddit is showing that there's still room for growth in the social media landscape.
For sure.
So I guess the question is, are you adapting? Are you keeping up with all the changes?
That's the million-dollar question.
It really is. Because if you're not,
you're going to get left behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So stay curious, keep learning, and most importantly, keep experimenting.
Great advice.
Thanks for joining me for another deep dive.
It's been a pleasure as always.
And we'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye out.